We'll call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals. Let's stand for the pledge. Keith, would you lead us in pledge, please? Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bratcher.
Here.
Joe Crowell.
Here.
Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Joe Machado.
Here.
Michael Rather.
Here.
Jared Barrett.
Here.
Zane Cantrell.
Present.
All voting members are present.
All regular members are here and will be voting on each item that comes before us. You have also the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any additions or changes to those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, that last one says 4 and 1 against, 0 against, and 1 against, I was 1.
Okay. Would you make that notation, please?
Repeat that, Joe.
The last motion, it says carried 4 and 0 against. It was 4 and 1 against, I was 1 against.
Sorry about that typo.
We made
I'll
a
take
note
care
of
it.
that. That'll be in the minutes. Do I hear a motion that be accepted? Have a motion that be accepted. Have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like signs. Minutes are approved. Let me welcome each of you to the Board of Zoning Appeals and kind of give you a little idea of how we will proceed with the deliberations this evening. We'll have a report from our staff on each item that will come before us. Those of you that are requesting a change, would you please come to the podium and give us any additional information that you might have about your request. Following that, we may have some questions from board members, and then following that, we will have a public hearing on each item. At the end of the public hearing, we'll try to give you an answer on your request. The first item we have is a request by Consolidated Utility District. Are they here, or do you want to? Okay, ready for that. All right, give us the information that you have on that, please.
Okay, application 2012-09, filed by Consolidated Utility District of Rutherford County, involves the property located at 5592 Central Valley Road. It's a 23-acre site located in a residential 15 zone. The applicant is seeking variance relief to the 35-foot height maximum that would allow a structure measuring 44.5 feet in height in the residential 15 zone. This involves the existing facility located at Central Valley Road. They are proposing to add structures to it to expand the facility. In order to house the equipment that they propose to have in these structures, they need to construct a building that exceeds our 35-foot height maximum, and it is proposed at 44.5 feet high. This site plan, the site improvements were approved by the Planning Commission at its February 27th meeting, and it was conditioned upon receipt of the variance approval. But the site, even though the site does not have any features that make compliance difficult, the actual use of the property and its uniqueness in that it's a public facility contributes to the special conditions affecting the property. And so staff finds that the request meets the criteria for variance approval, and we recommend approval. And these are photos of the site. We've actually posted the sign on the property. The site is bordered by 840 Army Corps of Engineer areas and farmland across Central Valley Road. The proposed additions will continue the elevations, the appearance of what you see on the property already constructed. It will still meet all the lot coverages, all of those other bulk regulations that typically apply in the R15 zone to non-residential uses. So these are photos of the site and the surrounding area. This is the approximate, this is the viewpoint from where the majority of the additions will take place. And the applicant has supplied elevations. These are the southern and northern elevations of the property. So you can see that the structure is going to resemble what's already out there. And the site improvements, I guess where you see all of the activity, it's kind of difficult. I should have highlighted it in a different color, but these are the site improvements that were approved by the Planning Commission and the location of the structure. And that concludes our presentation.
Do we have anyone here from the CUD representing this? Would you come around, please, to the podium and give us your name and any additional information that you might have?
My name is Jennifer Wood, and I'm just the representative for CUD tonight. And basically what it is a solids treatment facility to replace the ponds that you see in the back portion of the property. We've kind of exceeded the use of those, and we need to build something to handle the solids off of the backwash from our filters for the treatment of the raw water that comes in. So basically this is the facility that has been designed to take care of that. If we were to upgrade our water treatment plant in the future, this facility would be needed in order to handle those solids. And what you saw earlier, there's like a bay on one side. That's for trucks to come in. That's where we're going to load any solids that we have that are treated with this facility. And then above that is actually where the centrifuges are, which is what kind of gets the water away from the solid so that we can take that off-site somewhere else. And then above that, we have cranes to lift up the centrifuges if they need to be worked on or anything like that. So that's some of the reasons why we have that extra 9.5 feet over the 35 feet.
Do you have any questions from the board? Looks like you did a good job of explaining that. Thank you very much. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
I move we approve it.
We have a motion to be approved. We have a second.
I second it, Mr. Chairman.
Call the roll, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Bain.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
Okay, it is approved. The next item we have is a request by James and Lori Gibson. They are requesting a temporary conditional use permit for fireworks, right?
Sir.
Okay.
Application 2012-10, filed by James and Lori Gibson, involves the property located at 2502 Blackman Road. It's a 0.6-acre parcel located in a retail and wholesale trade zone. The Gibsons are seeking temporary conditional use permit approval to allow a temporary fireworks stand in the retail and wholesale trade zone. This same request was approved by the board in June of 2011. The hours of operation, the size of the tent, the number of employees, and signage is all proposed to be the same by the applicant. They'll have to comply with our sign regs. We've recommended the conditions. Those conditions haven't changed except for the dates of the year. And this particular request was, last year was the first time that the Gibsons located their fireworks tent at this location. However, we received no complaints regarding the operation of the fireworks tent at this location. We will go through some photos, and just to let you know, we did not receive any phone calls regarding this application. And we posted a sign on the property, and the intersection of Blackman and I believe Brinkley Road, or probably have it wrong, Manson Pike.
This was the site of last year's fireworks stand.
Yes, sir. Last year was the first time that they located at the site, but this is the
Do you have
second
any
year.
problems with parking?
No, sir, we did not. And this is the approximate area where the tent will be located according to the applicant's site layout. And we've kind of identified that right there on the screen. And that concludes our presentation.
We have anyone here that's representing this? Please come around and give us your name.
My name is James Gibson, and the actual spot is further back than what she has located, but everything's going to be the same. Everything went well last year.
Any questions? Joe?
How far away is your tent going to be from where the fuel storage is?
It'll be almost 70 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. We have a motion on it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion that be approved.
Second.
We have a second. Jerry. Call the roll, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes?
Jerry,
Yes.
Zane.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
The next item we have is from James Jacobs, and this is a request for dirt extraction or burrow pit.
Application 2012-11, filed by James Jacobs, involves the property located off John Bragg Highway and Woodcraft Road. It's a 22.25-acre site, Zone Residential 15. They are seeking temporary conditional use permit approval to allow burrow pit operations with relief from the setback and area requirements for burrow pits in the R15 zone. And this application seeks renewal of the permit that was issued by the board in August of 2011. Currently, he is operating under the 3-month extension that's allowed for in our regulations that's extended administratively. The applicant would like to be subject to all the same conditions, the variance from the area requirements, and they are still following the plan that they submitted last year with the application, and we have recommended approval with conditions, and that the effective date of this approval, if the board approves it tonight, shall commence on the date of expiration of their administrative extension. So it will guarantee them the longest time. But last year, when they appeared before the board, they indicated that this project would not be complete within a year and acknowledged that they would have to appear before the board. We received one call in favor of the application, and I will just go through photos of the site. We posted the sign on the site. Surrounding area, we actually have a case later on the agenda that affects an adjacent property. This is the plan that was submitted last year that indicated phases. A portion of the property last year had already been affected by prior applications, and they just want to continue work on the site. And that concludes our presentation.
Now, this is a little different. It's extraction of gravel. Is that
I imagine rock. They're trying to level the site out to make it developable.
about
in
all
the
there
future.
is out there is rock?
Sure.
Do we have anyone here representing this request? Give us a brief rundown on your operation up to this point. I believe you were here the last time, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
We took out about, my name's James Jacobs. We took out probably 1,200 to 1,300 loads of shot rock is what's coming out there, is shot rock. And we plan to keep going just like we are, trying to get the site graded down.
And tell us why you need to come back to us again, because,
Permit only lasts 6
yeah,
months.
what is happening out there that you need this additional variance?
Permit, we just need to, there's so much rock out there to move, there's no way you can ever do it in a 6-month period.
How much longer do you think you'll need?
Well, a lot of that just depends on how much rock we need on other places, because that's what that rock is. We're using it on other
So
jobs.
you're probably going to be a operation there for a good long time, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Michael?
This question may be for you or Danielle, either one. Correct me if I'm wrong, when they were here last year, was there some sort of discussion from adjacent property owners about a buffer and those setbacks around?
Actually, I think the plan had indicated a buffer. They were going to propose a buffer along the northern boundary of the property. And we also indicated to the surrounding property owners that it's likely that the applicant would be appearing before the board again, and if they had any particular issues with the operations that had been taking place, that they would have another opportunity to express their concerns to you.
Well, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but this particular application is also, again, requesting relief from those.
It's just in the front. It's not on the sides or anything else.
Talking about on the John Bragg side?
Right.
Okay.
The setback relief would be for the front of the property, but the area requirements affects the entire property because we have a limitation as to how much property can actually be affected by the burrow pit. That's built into our regulations, and the applicant is essentially affecting 90% of the property. It's not the 10% it would be limited to. So that's the other relief that they are seeking.
The last time we talked about that arm that shoots out, you have no plans to dig in that area?
No, sir. We'll never be accurate. No, sir.
Keith?
Answer my question.
Did I beat you to the gun on that one? Any other questions?
Well, I just want to clarify something. The plans that we looked at last time showed, the buffer all the way around. Are we still going to operate based on those plans?
Yes,
So
sir.
what I would hate to happen is something changes here tonight, and then, we're going to be the ones that didn't do what we said we were going to do last time, and now the neighbors are upset because we've gone over to the property line for the neighbors. See where I'm going?
I can tell you that the plan that we're showing tonight is the plan that the applicant brought to us last year, and it was the day of the meeting, I believe.
Okay. We're just renewing the permit under the same plans that were presented last time? Okay, thank you.
Got one more question. I guess a clarification, Mr. Jacobs. The site y'all have here, the buffering all around where it's supposed to be is there, except for on the John Bragg side.
But it's still buffered on the John Bragg side.
Right.
Eventually, what they're wanting to do is to take that down so you could be able to see it from John Bragg.
Right. So for clarification, everything is the same. All you're doing is requesting more time to get the
Yes, sir.
rock out.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing.
Make a motion be approved.
Have a motion to be approved?
I'll second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Joe Kroll,
Yes.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Zane.
Yes,
Motion carries, sir.
it is approved. The next item is a request by James and Amy Ladd. I'm sorry, I jumped one more here. Forgot about John Hodge. The request by John Hodge Jones, and this is also a temporary conditional use permit for a burrow pit.
Application 2012-12 filed by John Hodge Jones involves the property located at 2002 Vitus Road. It's a 451-acre farm site located in the residential 15 zone. The applicant is seeking temporary conditional use permit for a burrow pit in the R15 zone. And they are just seeking to affect an approximate 5-acre site on the property to improve the drainage conditions in order to protect the crops on the site. and the applicant would like the ability to sell the materials, the soils, off of the site, and because of the removal of the soils from the particular site, it triggers the requirements for the temporary conditional use permit. These are photos of the site. It's a large farm tract, as you can tell, and the applicant was kind enough to draw the area affected, and that's the approximate area. Of course, it's not exact, so it should be subject to change, and they'll be subject to all the conditions that are typically applied to borough pits, with the exception of we have received a letter from the street superintendent or road superintendent indicating that they will not have to post a road bond. So that's one of the requirements. The applicant has already addressed that, and it has been submitted and placed into the file. We received, I believe, one informational call on this particular application. We posted a sign on the site, and that concludes our presentation.
Okay, Dr. Jones, come around. Give us your name and any additional information about your operation out there.
I'm John Hodges Jones, and live on the farm on Whitish Road. It's about 1 mile west of Armstrong Valley. If you drive down that road, you will notice that we have a rather open farmland there. My younger brother works most of the farm in corn and soybeans. I have 40 acres of it fenced off to take care of some beef cattle, and I raise the beef cattle because an old gentleman told me that I'd be healthier and I'd live longer if I had beef cattle. They don't make a lot of money. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and your staff has been very kind to me and helping me, and this is a new process for me, and I know a little about it, so I've been by there about 3 times, and they've been very helpful, and thank you very much. There's really 3 reasons for what we are doing. One is drainage, and drainage and conservation, and basically improving the farm. I have already started some work with the soil conservation people. Jason McAfee, who is the current director of Rutherford County Soil Conservation. I've become acquainted with him. In fact, he has suggested, and I have agreed to sign an application for a continuing conservation program for the farm. Second reason for this request is safety. The drainage ditch area, we try to keep that area bush hogged off. It has been steep, it's been dangerous, and we are cutting back the slope so that it will not be as dangerous. You know, it's okay for an old guy like me to get hurt, but it's not okay for my children or grandchildren to get hurt, and so consequently I'm very interested in the safety of this. The third reason is really aesthetics. We enjoy the place. It has a beautiful sunrise, a beautiful sunset. This does open up the farm to where most of the farm can be seen from our house, and so it's aesthetics is a reason. In order to achieve this, it's work that actually we started last year, and in pushing back the banks on that drainage ditch, it created a mound of dirt or soil which had a lot of stumps in it, and we could not move that soil because of the stumps in it. It was not appropriate for topsoil for yards, which people might be wanting to use and put topsoil on their yards. In order to do that, we need to come down the bank of this ditch where this soil has been pushed up, and we need to cut what you call a borrow pit. I call it a trench. We cut a trench here, and of course this would be topsoil, which will need to be moved off of the farm, and we push this soil that has the stumps in it over in that trench, and then of course cover it. And And in doing this, it will help with the drainage of the farm. This particular area of the farm is slow drainage. It's very low. It's low ground and slow drainage, and we will be able to get the water drainage more to this open ditch. One of the reasons, and for those of you who are old farmers, used to when you plowed a field, you'd plow the soil out every year, and whenever you see these ridges next to fence lines, or these types of lines, a lot of times it has a mound of soil that's been created there by plowing the soil out every year. My father used to always teach us that every other year you would plow it in. But so that's another reason that we need to move that. And of course, to lower this slope to make it safer for bush hogging, then of course it's necessary to push back some of the soil. I'd like to note that I'm not in the business of selling topsoil. It just so happens that we do need to move this topsoil where we will cut the trench out, and also too there is some need. We spent quite a bit of money on this last year, and my wife complained about it. So we hope this year to get the work done by selling the topsoil and of course the Bryant Construction Company will be managing this. They're well-known construction company.
Any questions from the board? Keith?
Mr. Jones, who did you say would be doing the work? What construction company?
Bryant Construction Company.
Okay, all right, sir. Just a couple of questions. About how long do you think it will take him to this process? You think the 6-month period is going to be ample time to get this done?
Oh, yes, plenty.
Okay.
Hopefully in a few weeks.
Okay. And just one clarification, Danielle. You said that they would have to apply for or put up a road bond?
No, I believe we received a letter from the road superintendent indicating that a road bond would not be required for the limited amount of work that was going to take place and the traffic that was going to be generated.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Jones. Do you know, talking with Mr. Bryant, you know how many loads a day trucks would be on that road? Do you know how many loads they anticipate hauling off there a day?
I would assume he'd have only one truck at the time on it, and so the topsoil will be piled near the road to where he can get in. In other words, he will do this work pretty soon. The topsoil will be piled so that he can come and get it at that point.
Right. I guess what I'm trying to understand is if he's going to be employing, lots of trucks, I know it's one truck at a time, but I'm saying trucks all day hauling this dirt off there for extended, for 30 days, 40 days, month, 2 months,
I would assume that it will be over all the summer that he will be moving it, but it'll be one truck at a time, maybe one load per week.
Okay. That answers my question. Thanks, sir.
Any other questions? The only bad thing about this, Dr. Jones, is, remember years ago I used to hunt those rabbits up and down through there, so you're clearing it out where I won't have any rabbits in there. Of course, all my dogs are gone, so it doesn't matter.
Well, we've had plenty of wooded area right around all of this, as you can see by the map, and where these rabbits can live. In fact, I've seen a few more rabbits and squirrels than I used to see.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Jones. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on it?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to be approved.
Second it.
Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Dane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
It is approved. The next item we have is a request by Jason and Amy Ladd. This is agritourism business request.
Right. Application 2010-13 involves the property located at 4374 Rocky Glade Road, and the applicants are Jason and Amy Ladd. They are seeking conditional use permit to establish an agritourism operation and variance relief from the development standard requiring double bituminous parking areas in the R15 zone. This is an aerial of the property, and the applicant has appeared before the board the last 2 years for special events permits. Initially, the first year, they had a pumpkin patch that was seasonal and limited to the month of October. Last year, the operation had expanded to special events like parties, educational outings, farm tours, and as well as the pumpkin patch and those sorghum maize. They received approval, and this year they are coming before the board seeking the approval for the same uses. They have, because the activities are now really taking place throughout the year, it would just, the sorghum maize and the pumpkin patch would just be accessory to the principal use of the offering the farm for tours and special events like parties and school trips. The applicant is proposing the same number of full-time and part-time seasonal employees. They will be subject to our sign regulations. They are seeking variance approval for the use of gravel in lieu of a double bituminous surface for the parking areas. This variance was granted the last 2 years, and they'd like to continue that because the site is an operating farm. They have no a desire to change the rural and farm nature of this particular site. It's a petting zoo as well. They have loads of animals out there. And they have made arrangements for the removal of waste, which the portalette, the waste from the portalettes, they have a contract with a company to handle that. They've added ingress and egress points to the site to provide better circulation. They've also met with emergency officials to provide them with a layout of the property and have received an emergency street address number in case of those times where emergency officials have to respond to a call and maybe the rocky glade frontage is not the likely source. It could be the road behind it that the property touches. So staff is recommending approval with conditions, and I'll just go through the remainder of the pictures. This is the parking area. They have expanded that to allow for school buses to go in and out fairly easily. We received 2 phone calls from people with questions, informational. They really did not indicate any specific concerns. There was a concern mentioned about the speaker system that they have, but I do believe that the applicant was approached by that particular individual and they've corrected the situation. And this is the layout of the park, or the operations on the farm. Sorry, it's not a park. But it shows the ponds, the areas where they're going to have the pumpkin patch and the maize and the walking paths. And that concludes our presentation.
We have anyone here representing this request? Come around, please.
Hello, my name's Amy Ladd. Thank you for having us back this year. Again, we are, this is actually, I think, our fourth year coming back. And we are just wanting to continue our agritourism operation. Our primary focus is educating elementary school students. That's the vast majority of our business. They visit us on field trips, spring, during the summer, and in the fall. And we do have the petting farm. We also sell some of the livestock off of it. We've educate them about agriculture. We also met with a professor at MTSU and discovered that we have a unique ecosystem that's unique only to Rutherford County. And so now we have expanded our educational programs to 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, where we are teaching them about plant life that you can only find in Rutherford County. It only grows here, and the cedar glade forest and things of that nature.
Any questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like. Oh, you have a question, Joe? Sorry. Got to get that hand up high.
Yes. Do you have an estimate? I mean, you've been doing this for, what, 2 or 3 years now? What is the maximum number of people you've seen in there, in and out, during, say, a day's time, busiest?
During a day's time. Our busiest time of year is going to be the fall when the pumpkin patch and corn maze is open. And so the busiest weekend is always usually the third weekend in October. And the largest capacity that we've had in one day would be a turn of about 2,000 people in a day.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Can I make it? I just want to point out that is a rare occasion. We've only hit that number twice, so we aren't generally that busy. Yes, sir.
Gary?
Well, out of the 2,000, how many are there at one time?
Oh, well, not 2,000 at one time. Generally, families will stay about a 4-hour period, and our overflow parking will accommodate up front approximately about 300 cars. So if you average 300 cars and you want to say that maybe there's 3 people per car, you know, a mom and dad and a child, then maybe 900 at a time. We can accommodate for field trips. A lot of times we'll have a lot more students there. We might have 1,500 students at one time, but that's not when we're generally open to the general public.
As large as it's going to get?
It is, yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. If you'll come around, please.
I'm Richard Massey. I live 4698 Rocky Glade Road, which is about 1,500 feet from Lucky Lad Farms. I moved in the country to live in the country and not be bothered in town every day with all my businesses that I have in town. It started off, this was a petting zoo, but since it's became more of a theme park. We got rides and slides, and last year we had a big problem, came up with the music. We couldn't even stay in our backyard or do anything without listening to this music. I'm not a country music fan. Now, I know some people are. I'm not one of them. I don't care to listen to country music, never have, although I am country, I say. But I noticed nothing was ever brought up about these rides and slides and stuff. Everything is petting zoo. I don't even see how they got R15. I think this is more of a C1 than what we're running into. And the question you brought up is really my biggest concern. How big is this thing going to be? They got a lot of land out there. We're going to wind up with Opryland out there? I mean, I think y'all need to take a good look at this and see how big this is going to be. And we need to put some restrictions on sound and how big they're going to be, how many people can be there. We live on a small road. Rocky Glade Road is not a big road. We don't have even a gravel on the side of it. What would you call it? Shoulder. We don't even have a shoulder on the road. The road's not very well taken care of because we are real close to the Williams County line over there. We're only a couple of miles away. So we kind of get a little left out sometimes in those departments. But I think we need to look at this and put some restrictions on it. Like, as I say, sound for one, which he did come talk to me last year and said that he was going to take the speakers, I guess, off of the poles and was going to put a speaker system on the ground or something. Now, I will admit, this year I have not heard the country music so far. I hear the kids every day, which is not that bad, but like she said, when you start getting, I don't know about y'all, but you start getting up there, say 500 kids, you got a lot of racket. I didn't move by a school. I could have moved up there by, Blackman or somewhere like that, and that's what this is becoming to me. And I was wanting to be buried out there where I live. It's paid for and all. I worked my tail off, employed a lot of people in Rutherford County and over the years with my companies. And I just think we need some restrictions before we wind up with Opryland.
We have any questions from the board?
Yes, sir. According to this map right here, where do you live? Do you live at the 4560, that area right there? You're at 4698? Yes. Okay. Okay. All right, sir. Thank you. All right, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. Anyone else? We're still in the public hearing. Close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on this?
I'll make a motion be approved.
Have a motion to be approved. Do we have a second? Did you second it? What, with the restrictions that we have, or did you want some additional ones? Okay, well, what do you want to discuss?
I'd like to ask the lady to come back up if this motion fails.
You're primarily concerned about the PA system. Is that it?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask why is music necessary?
That is a great question. Music is not necessary, and just to address why the PA system was put in, we were awarded a Tennessee Agricultural Enhancement Grant by the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, and to put in the PA system. And we added the PA system more for safety precautions. When we have a lost child, we do have 57 acres, and they are, going on trails in the woods, and in the fall with the maize, it is possible for us to have a lost child. And so we purchased the PA system for safety concerns more than entertainment concerns. We did play bluegrass music. We were unaware. We operated 8 weeks in the fall with the PA system, and it wasn't brought to our attention until the last week that we were open that you could hear it beyond our property. When we listened to the music, if you stood on our property, you couldn't hear it, and the reason that we thought that it did not go beyond the property is the way that the horns were positioned. Apparently, it traveled over the tree lines, which we thought would provide a buffer. As soon as it was brought, the moment it was brought to our attention that neighbors could hear it and that it was an issue, we cut it off. And we only used it and have only used it since for safety precautions to, announce if we have a lost child and to, let people know that, it's time to leave the property and things of that nature. So to address that concern, and as soon as it was brought to our attention, Jason personally went to every neighbor within a mile radius and apologized to them. And, had they brought it to our attention sooner, we would not have played the bluegrass music. So he does not have to worry about listening to bluegrass music at all. And I would like to point out that in our 4 years of operation, we have not had a single complaint other than this one issue with the PA system.
I got a question, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Ladd, other than what we had approved for you before and what you're applying for tonight, what's the difference?
There is no difference. For the past, since we've applied and come in front of you, we've always had the slides, the wagon rides, and everything is tractor operated. We do not have any amusement park rides. We do not care to add any amusement park rides. The petting zoo, the playgrounds, all of those items have been in place. We have added a few new items to the playground that probably weren't here the initial time that we came in front of you all, but it's not anything that would be machine operated. It's just additional playground equipment so that when kids do come out, they're not all fighting over the one jungle gym that we had or the one slide that we had.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, I'm sorry, I'll wait till he finishes.
Go.
Yes. On your drawing up there, or the overhead shot, roughly point out the area of where your playground equipment and all of that stuff is, so we can have an idea of what's going on?
Certainly. If
I see it.
Danielle, would you go back to the aerial, please? Okay. If you see this area, that area is where the maze is. If you'll come down right in there, in that area, buffered with trees, so there's trees completely surrounding it. That is where the playground is.
Okay, but the bare area up there is where you have your maze every year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Joe?
Do you have any traffic problems with that many people? You said 2,000 people at one time?
We have not ever had any traffic issue on Rocky Glade Road. Rocky Glade Road is a main thoroughfare from Williamson County into Rutherford County. While I pleasantly disagree, if we look at the type of road that Rocky Glade Road is, it actually gets quite a bit of traffic from Williamson County and people coming from Chapel Hill, College Grove, the outskirts of Franklin, and cutting over Eagleville and cutting through over into Highway 99. From Highway 41 to Highway 99, we have Highway 41 on one side of us and Highway 99 on the other. And so they'll cut through our road as a main thoroughfare to get to Murfreesboro. But we have never had a backup on Rocky Glade Road, and I do on those busier weekends bring in parking attendants to make sure that we keep traffic flowing.
How many you said 2,000 is the most you've had. How many do you have on an average weekend?
It just varies depending on seasonality. Spring and summer, I averaged last year about 50 people a day on a Saturday. Our hours that we're requesting are sort of condensed. We actually aren't open all of those hours every single day, spring, summer, and fall. I just combined them for simplicity's sake because during the fall we expand the hours to accommodate the larger crowds. But spring and summer on Saturdays we might have 50 people. And then during the fall, it does grow. You know, we might get 200, and then by the time we're in that busy weekend, we'll peak at around that 2,000. And then after that third weekend, it starts dropping back down. And by the last weekend, we're back down to 200 people. And
how many days do you have over 200 people?
How many days that I would have over 200 people? Maybe, let me see. Maybe 16 days a year. Well, now that's when I'm open to the general public. If we have school kids and they come on buses, then we can have more days that we have over 200 people. But now that's during the week, and they're on the property maybe from 9 to 1:30 in the afternoon.
Never have any complaints by any neighbors?
No, sir. The first complaint we've ever had was regarding the PA system. It actually was not Mr. Masses or Mosses. I'm sorry for mispronouncing his name. It was not him. It was another neighbor that brought it to our attention. And as I mentioned, as soon as it was brought to our attention, we corrected that problem immediately. We try to be good neighbors. I hire my employees twice a year to do trash pickup along the road, because I'm sure that we are, contributing to a little bit of extra trash along in front of our neighbor's house. And we go out down each side of our property. We go, I have them go a mile to a mile and a half with trash pickup. So we do everything we can to try to, be good neighbors. We aren't taking down trees and things like that. We're trying to keep buffers up to keep noise down and everything we can do. I do know that, in the beginning when we very first moved out there, we won't get into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go.
Yes, ma'am. Would you kind of maybe go through the grant, the Agri grant or whatever it was you were trying to kind of explain that to us?
Oh, yes, sir. As long as we've been in business, we've taken part in what's known as the Tennessee Agricultural Enhancement Program. And it's offered by the Tennessee Department of Agritourism. And basically, it's an economic grant development program. So the state offers it to farms who are looking for alternative ways to diversify their farm and bring in additional income through their farms. They offer it in different ways, whether it be, if you're a beef cattle operator, or if you're in hay, or if you do fruits and vegetables. We're in what the category known as producer diversification under the agritourism section. And basically, the state is encouraging farms to diversify their farm and make long-term economic investments in their property so that your local economy will benefit from these type of investments. And so we've used it to make safety improvements to our property, and you know, under their terms of the different things that we would qualify for, gravel for the parking lot, the PA system, different things of that nature, seating for the kids when they come out and eat lunch on the property, and things of that nature. And so you make the economic investment up front, and then you supply them with your receipts, and they reimburse you up to $15,000 a year. And for each of the last 3 years, we've put over $30,000 in our farm in terms of improvements to take part in that program.
So they have a list of restrictions or whatever that you can follow. You have to follow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You have to, you know, have farm sales and things of that nature, and you have to. There are only certain items that, you know, hayride wagons are included, benches and safety and seating and lighting and PA systems, and all of those things are included. You know, eventually maybe we would like to take part in their program for putting permanent restrooms, you know, on the farm, but at this point that's not an investment that we have the money to make.
Any other questions? Keith?
Yeah. Don't want to keep beating this to death. This might be for our staff, but the applicant might can answer it. Danielle, like what she's doing, I know we have some other properties across the county do like pumpkin patches, but this type of operation they have here, this agritourism, is this the only one of its kind, or is there more similar that we've approved in this county?
I'm not aware of anything similar to your operation here, but if you can tell us, anyway.
There's actually in Rutherford County last fall there were 5 other corn mazes and pumpkin patches. Walden Farms is probably the biggest and most well known. They've been in business, I think, 15 or 20 years, much longer than we have. They do probably twice the volume of people that we do during that same period of time. But they have the animals, the petting farm. They don't have as many activities on their playground. They don't have a nature trail. But in terms of agritourism and the type business that we do, it's very similar in nature.
I was trying to familiarize. I knew about Walden Farms. I knew a few of the other ones that we had done the pumpkin patch and the petting zoo. I just wasn't sure exactly how similar they were to your operation and ours and so on.
We have several around through the county that we have approved in the past.
Yes. My first question was, other than what they were doing in the past and what we had approved, and what they are coming to us tonight for, if they're not doing anything different, why are they here?
It was temporary. It focused primarily on the corn maze, that seasonal portion of it, and we do have the corn mazes that come through every single year that only operate that event during that period of time. This applicant had the corn maze, but they also offered events throughout the year and activities throughout the year, the educational trips. And so essentially that becomes the primary use, and this is just a portion of that primary use. And so instead of treating it as a temporary conditional use permit, we just treat it as an agritourism activity associated with this farm. And in the future, that requirement may even go away. And there's some discussion about whether or not they'd even be required to come before us because it would be considered an agricultural activity, which is exempt.
So in other words, I know in the past when we I guess approve a conditional use permit, that's contingent upon it's just reviewed every year or 2 years if there's a problem. Correct or not?
Her last few permits were temporary conditional use permit.
Okay, this is not going to be temporary.
No.
Okay, so it would fall under the basis of all the others.
The corn mazes that just established during that short period of time will still have to come for the temporary conditional use permit. but her operation is year-round.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we still do not have a motion on the floor. We're going to hold this because we're still in a public hearing. Do we have anyone else besides those who have?
Mr. Chairman, you stand corrected. We do have a motion on the floor. I made it, and we have a second. We've just been discussing.
Well, he didn't second it, did you?
Second.
Oh, okay, but we do have a motion on the floor. I made it.
Okay. I think it died because we didn't have a second. He's wanting to change that second to a major change. So I'm going to rule that we don't have one at this time. We'll allow you back up here for a couple of minutes since no one else. Okay.
Everybody keeps bringing up this, all this agriculture stuff. They have if you look on their line, they got a 70-foot super slide. I ain't never seen one on a farm. I've been on a farm all my life. I'm 55, and I've never had a slide on a farm. It's going away from a farm. If it was going with the farm like they started, I got no problem whatsoever. Teaching kids, they need to be taught. But I'm telling you, we're getting into a theme park here. And what I would suggest you doing, or maybe, thinking about, let her bring up her attendance and to show you. I also own land about 3/4 of a mile on the other side of her, on Taylor Lane, okay? My wife and I ride a bicycle every day, and we usually throw them in the pickup and ride down to the land, and we get off there. So we go by their place every day. Their parking lot's pretty much full. So this 50 a day, that may be averaged over a 365-day year, and they're only open 4 months out of a year or something like that. And like this maze they're talking about, this maze is only like a 3 or 4 week ordeal. It keeps bringing up like this is the center of attention. The maze is not center of attention. It might be for 3 or 4 weeks, but still we got all this other stuff. We just got a lot of people out there, and I don't see how in the world you can do it off of R15. I've been a businessman for, most of y'all know me. I was mass insulation for, almost 20 years.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else would like to speak? Did you have a question?
I have a question for Danielle. The question I have is, how did they get permission to have this to start with? We gave permission for a corn maze, but how did they come about getting permission to have all this other?
Well, they have modified their permit and come before you last year and included the events.
I must have been sleeping because I didn't realize they were putting 2,000 people a day out there.
Well, a number was never discussed.
Okay, you may go ahead and be seated.
And another thing, too,
Sir, you may go ahead and be seated. Thank you. We're not going to get into a big debate on this. We pretty well know what they're requesting. So, did anyone else want to speak before we close the public hearing? We'll close the public hearing. Now we're open for discussion by the board. Okay, Keith.
I just want to make a statement. I want to make sure I'm correct. And I understand the applicant, and I understand Mr. Massey's concerns. He lives out there. Don't want to make anybody think this board's insensitive to their the statements that they've made, but the 2,000 person thing keeps coming up, and I just want to allude to what the applicant said. I think she said that was a one or twice thing happening, and that was over an all-day period. I don't want people. I don't want the assumption to be that 2,000 people was coming in that place at one time and leaving at one time. And I know 2,000 people sounds like a lot of folks, but if it only happened once or twice and it was over an 8 or 10 hour period, or from 9 to 5 or whatever, so I just think that perception of 2,000 people rushing in there and 2,000 people rushing out up Rocky Glade Road, that would probably be a problem. And I guess the other thing I want to point out is they've been doing this operation for 4 years, I think.
The special events, I believe were just started 2 years ago.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me ask you this,
The corn
Daniel.
maze, 4 years.
Okay, let me ask this, Danielle. Since they've been doing this operation from existence, how many complaints have we gotten? Written, formal complaints from people out there said they've had a problem with this?
Not received any.
All righty, thank you.
Any other discussion? Jerry? Any other discussion from the board? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on this. What?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to be approved as presented.
Have a second. Have a motion to be approved as is with the regulations that we have. We
And
have
with
a
all-
second.
With all the conditions that the staff
With
has
the
placed.
conditions as written.
Absolutely.
And we have a second.
With Jerry the second.
Jerry. Call a roll, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Joe Crowell,
No.
Joe Machoto,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Dane Cantrell.
Yes. It is
Carry,
approved.
sir.
The next item we have is a request by Paulette Rogers, and this is a request to establish a flea market and farmers market. Wait just a minute. You may sit right there. Yeah. Go ahead with your report.
Okay, application 2012-14 filed by Paulette Rogers involves the property located at 3641 John Bragg Highway. It's a 1.84 acre site that's zoned retail and wholesale trade. They are seeking conditional use permit to establish a flea and farmers market with variance relief from the development standard requiring double bituminous parking areas in the retail and wholesale trade district. And the applicant would like to rent spaces to farmers and flea market vendors so that they can offer goods like produce and landscaping materials for sale to the general public. The applicant's proposing to be operating these uses from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. The site was rezoned in 2002 to the resale and wholesale trade zone for approving the wholesale nursery subject to conditions. And the conditions were outlined in the staff report for you. And in 2004, the applicant came before you again to expand that approved use for the site to allow them to sell used vehicles from the property. That was approved, but it was subject to limiting the number of vehicles that could be located, and the actual use of the nursery had to be in operation at the same time, and that it prevented or prohibited auto repair and body work to be conducted on the site. The applicant is now wanting to rent the spaces, establish the flea market on this site. It's a shallow site with approximate 1,000 feet along John Bragg Highway, and it's a Tennessee Scenic Highway. The area is surrounded by residential homes, vacant fields, and farmland. However, the property adjacent to it to the east was the subject of the application for the Burrow Pit extension that was issued last year. So they were reapproved tonight by you, and that property's being mined or burrowed. And we are concerned about the impacts of this particular use, just the nature of the use. We've cited examples, in a pre-meeting that these types of uses can evolve into something that might not be aesthetically pleasing, especially along a Tennessee Scenic Highway. We find that this particular request does not meet all the criteria, does not demonstrate meeting the conditional use criteria. However, if the board opts to approve it, we have included conditions that might protect the site from appearing in a state of neglect and having the outdoor storage of materials. As you can see in the staff report, there was occasions where letters had to be sent to the applicant to comply with the conditions of their previously approved conditional use permits. So we've not received any phone calls regarding this application. We posted a sign on the site, and we're just going through photos of the surrounding area. This is the existing structure on the site. And The applicant did provide us with like a conceptual plan showing the general layout of how they feel the parking areas would be located. They're not proposing any improvements, and they're also asking to be able to continue to use the gravel parking rather than pave the site to allow them to get the variance, and we have addressed that in the staff report. And that concludes our presentation. Yes, sir.
Okay, you might come around now. Yeah, here. Just give us your name and any additional information.
I'm Paulette Rogers. I own the property. I've had it ever since 1997. We've had a nursery on it pretty well most of the time since then. What I was trying to do was to be able to help the farmers, because there's no farmers market on this side of town. They would be able to use the flea market. They would be parking. There's plenty of parking on it because we've totally redone it. We've graveled it from one end almost to the other end of the property. There's water. We've got there'll be nursery stock. We have portable toilets that we've had because our ground will not perk because of the rock. It's been that way ever since I've had the property, and we've been used the conditional use because of that. I have 81 signed signatures from the neighbors around, all in direct, that are supporting us for the flea market. They want it. Most people like it and enjoy it.
One of the things that you have in your request is the automobile sales.
That I no longer have.
Pardon me?
I no longer have that.
You know, you're dropping that.
It.
Well,
No,
I feel a lot
it.
better since you're dropping that portion of it.
I
don't see that that's
a long time
compatible
ago.
with farming and the flea market to have automobile sales out there.
That won't be there.
Okay. Any questions? Joe?
The sketch that you provided is can you put that up, Danielle? Is it to the right is where the parking is going to be?
Parking starts right where the driveway is. There's parking right there, back there, over here, down here, and to an area you can't see.
So now what is this to the right down here then?
That's just grass from the out. That's the
okay.
state right away. That's on the state.
So you're saying these are roughly parking spaces through here?
Yes.
So you're talking about maybe about 20, 25 parking places?
More than that. There's more than that there.
Okay. The building
it looks a lot littler that way.
is the building going to be where your flea market's going to be, or is it going to be scattered all up and down? You know, kind of give us a concept.
It'll be outside. The flea market will be outside.
Well, when you say outside, in relationship to the
they will be on the property. They will be behind the fence.
Okay.
Property is fenced in all the way around.
It's a really narrow piece of property, and I guess I'm having trouble understanding how you're going to park around the front and have a flea market without somebody getting run over back and forth driving in and out of there. Explain that to me.
Back and forth.
Yes, ma'am. They're going to come in over here, and you say these are the parking places along the front. How wide is the piece of property?
The little bitty lines are not parking spaces. That's where the fence is.
I understand that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The longer lines behind the fence is your parking places, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
they'll pull in and park.
where are you going to set up your flea market at?
Flea market will be set up at that smaller area over there. There'll be people be able to sit there. Where the longer lines are, they'll be able to sit there. Over near the building, they'll have room. And then down below this, which is not on there, not on the map, we'll have spaces.
Okay.
Okay, question. Ms. Rogers, so in other words, you're going to just kind of rent out spaces, and people are going to in your application, these are going to be not limited to, they would be selling vegetables and fruits, and some of them may sell potted plants, something to that nature. So when you're saying this area over here, like she's got marked in the red,
Okay.
each one of those spots would be just like, not maybe marked off, but it'd be individual areas that you would, spaces that you would rent to vendors.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then some along that building and some on the other side of the building.
Other side and some further
Okay,
back.
and everything in front was where the parking would be for people that's coming there to buy.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're getting the right concept. Thank you.
Rogers, if we were to consider this, you would be okay with us deleting the auto sales portion of your permit?
The auto, there's not any auto sales any longer.
Thank
That's
you.
already been done.
Thank you.
All that's on there right now will be agricultural.
Would you be selling any live animals?
Oh, no.
No live animals allowed?
I know, you see a lot of flea markets have live animals. I won't have live animals.
Thank you.
I'll get one other thing, Mr. Chairman, and I know it kind of come up in a pre-meeting. Maybe some concerns, and I know it may not be out of her control to control it, but one concern we had, Ms. Rogers, was when people come into this site, they may want to tend to park on John Bragg Highway.
That's enough. I've done.
I understand
People
that.
have already asked me, and I said, no, you'll not
And our
park
staff,
there.
yes, ma'am, I understand, and our staff can address this, and I would like to maybe make this part of a condition if we did. Somehow, if she could put at her entrance, maybe put a sign that says no parking along roadway. I know she may not can enforce that, but maybe to deter people coming in there that they see that sign and maybe not park there, because that would be a concern. It could be a safety issue, people parking on the side of.
No, I'll have someone outside it. They will not park on John Bragg Highway.
Okay, so you're going to have folks that's going to be working there that if people start to park there, you're going to make them.
I have a son.
Okay, that's
Yes.
good.
Yes. That would be too hazardous.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this. I am right. There is an automobile sales section on that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. If you notice on the recommended conditions on number 7 that we've recommended that those conditions shall remain in effect, I would just end it at A563 and then add a new condition saying the conditional use permit of 2004-110 is
That section was
revoked.
dropped.
But also, I know that the application did not indicate anything about the portalets and the removal. It would be nice to make sure that we have like an agreement or a contract that the applicant can provide us. I was unaware that the site didn't perk, and so it would be nice if we had that in hand to know that those portalets would be monitored and managed, and it'd have a monthly contract that they were. Okay, great.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve without the auto sales.
Have a motion that be approved. Do we have a second? Got a second. Jerry. Call the roll, please.
I think we need to add staff comments to the.
Yes, I just wanted to talk to the parking variance. I didn't include a condition for that, and if we could include that your approval implies that there is an approval
That's
for
my
gravel.
understanding.
Okay.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Joe, as maker of the motion, are you accepting those changes?
Yes, ma'am.
I thought we had it in. Call the roll, please.
Keith?
Yes.
Joe Crowell?
Yes.
Joe Machado?
Yes.
Jerry? Zane?
Yes.
Motion carries,
It is
sir.
approved. The next item we have is a request by Barbara Lester. This is requesting special events and variance relief from the development standard.
Application 2012-15 filed by Barbara Lester involves the property located at 9901 Las Casas Pike. It's an 84.8 acre parcel that's zoned residential 15. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to hold special events and variance relief from the development standard requiring double bituminous parking areas in the R15 zone. This site, even though it's an 84-acre site, it's part of a larger farm tract that exceeds 400 acres, but the only area affected involves the 84-acre tract. The applicant would like to hold like weddings and parties and reunions, those types of special events on her property during the months that weather permits. The applicant originally indicated the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but they would also like the opportunity to hold events during the week, like a teacher appreciation lunch, on those types of events that wouldn't normally occur on the weekend. All activity appears that it would take place well off of Las Casas Pike and far from any, adjacent property lines. So staff, finds that just the sheer size of the property and proposed activities, that it should not be detrimental to the surrounding area. The application demonstrates meeting the criteria for conditional use approval. We are recommending conditions. The only condition that I would like the board to consider modifying, should they vote to approve this, is the condition that limits it to the weekend, because this desire to hold events throughout the week was not articulated to staff until the reports had already gone out. So if you could consider that. And these are photos of the area. It's just farmland, a wide open space. The applicant is also seeking the approval to use gravel in lieu of having the area paved, which we've addressed in our staff report. And this is looking towards Las Casas Pike, so you can see that the activities would not be visible from the highway and the area that the activities would be held, and the structures for which the activities might use. And then we've highlighted it in green, showing the area of the proposed activity. And we posted the sign on the property. We've received one informational call on it, and that concludes our findings.
Okay, do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. You'll give us your name and tell us a little bit about your operation, what kind of special events.
My name is Barbara Lester. I do live at the property. I have, for over the past 10 years, owned and operated Through the Grapevine Restaurant and Catering here in Murfreesboro. At times, my facility there on site has become too small for some type of events that have come to me wanting to have my catering service. So for this reason, we are asking to expand so that I can bring my clients, when I book a client at Through the Grapevine, to the property for events such as weddings, rehearsal dinners, family reunions, company picnics, things of this sort. As Daniela had stated, the reason we had added during the week, because I had a school come to me, a local school in the area, and they wanted to do their teacher appreciation luncheon, which would be about 40 people would come during the school week. So that was the reason for adding that on there.
Any questions? Keith?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Ms. Lester, so in your request, you had wanted to add through the week, but majority of your business is still going to be on the weekends. You just wanted to add that in there just in case you had something.
Because I had one company that had come to me and said, "Can we bring employees out during the week, have a power luncheon, and a nice relaxing afternoon lunch, and then back to work?" So some things like that might occur during the week, like events that I have been handling at my restaurant here in town.
Right.
For company meetings and things.
But the majority of your
Yes, sir.
would be on the weekends?
Yes,
What you
sir.
got? Okay, ma'am,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
I have a question.
Gary, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Lester, give an approval for special events. That's really broad. And the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people is Bonnaroo. I'm understanding you're not wanting to do Bonnaroo now.
I assure you, I live on the property. I do not want Bonnaroo.
What would be the most people you would consider?
Doing the catering myself, I usually try to keep that around 150 people. I have catered for many years, and that's a very good number that I'm comfortable with in working with food cost and things that I have done in the past.
Have any concerns if we were to put a restriction that would say no more than 200?
Well, if I got lucky and had a big group come out for a wedding that might have 3, I am catering a wedding off-site at another location in September that has 375 people. So,
what would be a number that you would
200
asking,
that I feel comfortable working with.
we just put special events, and that just doesn't limit it at all. And I want to be fair, but ask you what
Well,
would be.
considering the site of my location and the area that we're talking about, we do have a large area for parking. Parking's not an issue, and just handling the number of people in the area. So we also have other options that the client can come to me and purchase in the way of valet parking, the restroom facilities, tents, chairs, things like that, because I do not have those. My client would rent those, and we would set them up on site for events like that.
Thank you very much.
Joe.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions. You're wanting to add one day other than Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
I would like for there not to be, I don't know if they'll be there on Tuesday or Thursday.
The application I'm reading here says Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
That's what we were adding during the weekdays.
What hours?
My school group will be coming during the daytime. They're coming from 11 to 1.
What's the latest you'd have someone out there at night?
During the week?
Anytime.
Anytime. Our cutoff time is 11 p.m.
11 p.m.
Yes,
Would
sir.
that bother the neighbors if you had events to 11 p.m.?
As far as I know, not. My son-in-law's the next-door neighbor.
Will
so-
you have alcohol involved?
No, sir.
No alcohol?
I do not have alcohol on my premises here in town.
There would never be any alcohol?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of. Now, I can't speak for somebody slipping something in, but as far as I'm aware of, there's none permitted. No, sir.
Thank you.
Joe.
Say what we're trying to get at right here, and I'm speaking for myself, but I think the rest of the board members is if we would like to come up with maybe a limit of the number of persons you're allowed to have there at any one given time. What would be a good number that you feel comfortable with that you could throw at us that maybe we would feel comfortable with? No.
My first number I said was 200. Catering personally, I would hate to go way over that, but, I hate to limit myself in case someone did come out and had a larger number. The problem in Murfreesboro is the facilities indoor are not large enough to accommodate weddings and events that are coming up nowadays. So this was just my reasoning for going to the property to conduct events, to have more open space so that it would accommodate my client's guest list.
Danielle had a...
I just want to make a point. Last month we had the application. That was a 6-acre site, and they were originally asking for 150, and it ended up being reduced to 100. And this is an 84-acre site, but is part of a much larger farm. So just keep that in mind if you want to place numbers. And also, the distance, you can see it's well off of Las Casas by 1,000 feet. So.
Yeah, I have just a couple of things I want to address. That was one of them right there. I know we want to limit things to where they're going to be, I guess, less impact on people or community or whatever. I don't know what number is going to would be comfortable to Ms. Lester. She says she has a wedding doing another site, 375 people. I don't think this site would have a problem accommodating that. I mean, I would agree to anything that's reasonable, but I do have somewhat of a problem with us putting numbers when we just, the application before with the folks that sometimes have 2,000 people, 2,000 people a day. So, and I don't think that's what your intent is, but I just, and then the other thing I wanted to mention was, this site is probably not like some of the others we did. This is 84 acres right here, but it's part of a much bigger acreage site here. So that's the point I want to make. Thank you.
Any other, Michael?
Ms. Lester, first of all, thank you for chicken salad. It's incredible. I have a question for Danielle. This is a conditional use permit that is from now on as long as she owns property and this, that, and the other. This is something you're doing new on your property. So there's some things that are unknown to you that you don't have any experience doing this on your property. So it's hard to tell to limit you to anything. Is it possible that she gets a permit for a year, gives her time to get a year's experience, and then comes back for the conditional use permit, so she's got a better idea of what she's dealing with and the clientele and what have you?
Well,
Understand my question?
it was not advertised as a temporary conditional use permit. However, if the board wanted to put thresholds that would, like, once it exceeded a certain amount of activity, then she might have to appear before the board again to be reconsidered, or the conditional use criteria that we review it in a couple years. We could do that, but, like, say for instance, she agrees to a certain number and she operates and she's happy at that for many years. You wouldn't want to require her to come back every single year to ask for the same thing, because it's an additional use that's going to occur year-round on the property. It's not.
Ms. Lester, everybody's asking you for a number, and shoot for the moon. If you're catering a wedding that's 375 people, and most weddings, there's really not that many people, would you be good with 350, 375? Or do you not want to bite that much off and try to do a wedding that size on your property?
As I said, I am doing one on another location this fall, and that's the number we're doing for that reception. I've catered for many years. I have been in Nashville, and I've catered some of the private Christian schools down there, and we've served over 450 people at one event. So it's not the number that I can serve, but it was what I was thinking conservatively for my property. Like I say, I do live there. I do not want my rose bushes trampled to death. I would like to have it, and I do intend to keep it at a manageable number that I could handle.
Thank you.
I just want to add a little bit, and I don't want to keep beating it to death. And what you said, you are experienced in because you have your business at the Grapevine. This is just another avenue where if you had a larger group than what you can accommodate there, you want to be able to do it here. And to go along with what he said, it is your property, and so you know what you're willing to deal with and not deal with. So what would be a good number for you? 300, 400, 500, a max.
We're just trying to. War back here.
Well, I don't want to be, and I agree with whatever the board wants to go along with, but for us to be, if we said, we limit you to 250 people and you want to be able to do an event of 375 under the conditions, you wouldn't be able to do that. So we're
I
just
would
trying
be
to get
happy
to.
with 500.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
I've been in your establishment many times, and I know you run a real nice place, and I know that you're not going to have a rowdy bunch of people, especially out there where you live at. And I think we can all count on that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. Close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd make a motion that we do put a limit at 500 so that we put some number on it and make a motion for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Keith Bradger,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Joe Machado,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
Motion carries, sir.
It is approved. Any other business? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.